What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. As always, I am so excited to have you guys here and super excited for another cozy week of eating. You guys know I've basically made cozy meals my personality this fall, and I've really been trying to just experiment and get creative in the kitchen. And as you guys will see in this video, sometimes the recipes turn out really good and sometimes they turn out not so good. But as always, just a really quick disclaimer before we get into the video. You guys know I love making these videos to give you guys some meal ideas or inspiration, and I always do my best to get everything on film. But of course, there are always second helpings, snacks, and extra drizzles of tahini that I just don't get a chance to film. But if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. We'd love to have you here each week. But as always, I know we are all super excited to get into the food, so let's just get into the video.
You're always talking about leaving, milk carton, black and white face, smile vacant for the picture, parents waiting in the driveway. Oh my darling Arizona, why you packing up your suitcase? Hasn't anybody told you?
Alright, and of course I started off my week with oatmeal, but I'm keeping it fall themed by adding some pumpkin puree. Pumpkin spice oatmeal is just so warming, delicious, comforting. I will put my full recipe for my oatmeal in the description box below. And then for lunch, I was studying all day, so I wanted something super quick and easy. I had some leftover rice and kabuka squash in the fridge, so I just warmed that up with some frozen edamame and corn. I added some soy sauce and of course some kimchi and tahini, and that was just a super quick lunch. And then for dinner, I just made one of my other favorite fall dinners, which is just a sheet pan soup. I just started by chopping up some squash, shallots, garlic, onion, and orange pepper. And I just seasoned that with coconut oil and then a bunch of warming spices. I put that in the oven and just roasted it till everything was soft and tender. And then I added it all to a blender along with some silken tofu. I really like to either add silken tofu or cashews to my soups. I just find that it makes them nice and thick and creamy. And I like my soup on the thicker side, so I didn't add any liquid to this, but you could definitely thin it out with some vegetable broth. I also decided to make some of my Smokey tempeh to go on top as kind of like little tempeh croutons. I will put my full recipe for this in the description box below. But yeah, I just served it up with my soup, my tempeh croutons on top, some sourdough bread, and then I had some tahini sauce in the fridge, so I figured why not just throw that on as well. Yeah, this was a super comforting and cozy dinner, and of course you guys know I like something sweet after dinner, so I had some dates and peanut butter for dessert.
I wish I could holler at you, baby. I'm just not a natural, not a natural. Not at all. You like fancy, classy effort. There's no dress shirts in my dresser. In my dresser. So why would I wait in line to love you?
Lunch was kind of an example of a more experimental meal that didn't really turn out quite as I planned. Lately, I've been loving roast vegetables, so I had this idea that maybe I would roast up some vegetables, put them in my little ramekin that I use to make my baked oats, and then crack some eggs in and make a little baked egg dish. It was all going well. I baked my veggies off until they were soft, and then I added in some eggs. But while my eggs were cooking, I got a little bit distracted. I really wanted to keep the yolks runny, but I totally overcooked my eggs and they were hard. The dish still tasted good. I just kind of wish that they were a little bit runnier, but that's okay. Not every dish is going to turn out perfect, and that is just what happens when you experiment in the kitchen. Moving on into the afternoon, I decided to use up some more of the canned pumpkin that I opened, so I made some pumpkin loaf. I also ran out of almond flour when I was making this, so I had to use all oat flour. I will say it turned out a little bit denser than it normally does, so I would definitely say try and use the half almond flour, half oat flour if you're going to make it. But moving on to dinner, this was an experiment that turned out a little bit better. I'd been wanting to use my leftover soup for something other than just another bowl of soup, and I'd been seeing baked mac and cheese recipes all over my Pinterest, so I decided to give it a go. I just mixed my leftover soup with some pasta and leftover tempeh, and then I made a little walnut crumble to go on top with just walnuts, nutritional yeast, garlic powder, lemon, salt, and pepper. I also added smoked paprika on top just because I feel like everyone puts that on top of baked mac and cheese. I also steamed up some broccoli to go on the side just to get some greens in, topped it off with some of my tahini sauce, and yeah, this was a really delicious dinner. And of course, I had some pumpkin bread for dessert.
If spring is the season that wakes me alive, then fall is the season to contemplate life. Oh, yeah. I don't know what is it exactly in this time of year that makes the melancholy me reappear. Oh, yeah. Back and forth through dark roast coffee, salt, mist, and sea, sand and ember trees. 'Cause it still feels like summer, but it's soaked in nostalgia slowly. All the leaves start turning brown. 'Cause it still feels like summer, and I simply don't wanna see the cold wind sneak back in our town. 'Cause we lived when it was all bare feet, tan skin glistening beneath the heat, evening swirl into a birdsong beat. God, it's now so very bittersweet, so I guess I'll just put on my favorite sweater and say goodbye to summer. I keep on forgetting times learn how to fly, and before I know it, it passes me by. Oh, I don't know why one life is beautiful.
And then you guys have seen me make this meal. I think in my last 2 or 3 videos, it's just a tofu noodle stir fry. I will put all the ingredients that I use in my sauce in the description box below. But yeah, this is definitely a staple meal for me. I have it probably at least once a week, and I love it.
Trees, 'cause it still feels like summer, but it's soaked in nostalgia slowly. All the leaves start turning brown, 'cause it still feels like summer.
What's it like inside your mind, my dear? And do you find it terrifying there?
And on Thursday, I woke up craving something savory for breakfast, which is a little out of the ordinary for me, but whenever I crave something savory, I always like to make eggs with kimchi and spinach. It's just my go-to combo. And then for lunch, I decided to try making savory oatmeal. I figured I didn't have it for breakfast, so might as well have it for lunch. I just started by sauteing up some onions, mushrooms, peppers, and some coconut oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder, sage, smoked paprika, and then I added in my oats. I also just threw in some frozen corn. You guys know when I cook, I just kind of throw stuff in. I also cooked up some tempeh with some coconut aminos, and guys, this is a meal that was an experiment that turned out really good. I think oats, whether you have them sweet or savory, are always just a cozy, comforting fall or winter meal. I also added some sauerkraut and some tahini. I definitely added more tahini after I took this nice shot for you guys. But yeah, this is your sign to go experiment in the kitchen because sometimes it will turn out really, really good. Speaking of experimenting, okay, I think my dinner on Thursday was probably the best meal of the whole week. And again, it was just a total experiment. I started by sauteing up some onions, celery, and carrots, just a really solid base. And then I added a bunch of garlic. I think this soup made about 2 servings and I added about 7 or 8 cloves of garlic. So definitely wanting to use a generous amount of garlic. I also seasoned that with some salt and pepper and gave that a really good stir. And then I added about 2 cups of white beans that I just cooked the night before. And then the most important ingredient is liquid smoke. I also added some coconut aminos just to give it a little bit more flavor. And then I blended about a quarter of the soup with some nutritional yeast and cashews just to make it nice and creamy. And I don't know how else to describe this soup as just thick, creamy, garlicky, smoky white beans, if that's a name. And I am fully aware this does not look appetizing. I think most soups don't look appetizing. They kind of always just end up looking like baby food, but it was just so comforting, warming, and delicious.
It's the way you call my name. It's the way.
And then on Friday morning, I actually had to take my breakfast to go. So on Thursday night, I made some of my chia pudding and just took that with me with some blueberries. I will put my full recipe for my chia pudding in the description box below. I also decided to treat myself and stopped off at Starbucks. And then when I got home, I made myself a snack, just some rice cakes and peanut butter with a little bit of maple syrup on top. Of course, I forgot to film most of it, so there's just a little clip of it. I also had some more of my soup for lunch, and then in the afternoon I decided to make myself a little hot chocolate just because I felt like something cozy and comforting. And then to round out this very cozy week of eating, I decided to make a chickpea and tofu curry. And I'm actually not a huge fan of coconut milk. And I really like this recipe because it actually uses peanut butter instead to make it nice and thick and creamy. And I mean, you guys know how I feel about peanut butter. I love it. But one other thing I will say, if you guys are trying to get into cooking and cooking more for yourself, a big tip that I have is just to always taste test your food while you're cooking it. Adjust the seasoning. It helps you get more confident and comfortable in the kitchen, and your food just ends up tasting better. Anyway, this was a super delicious soup. I ended up having 2 bowls. And then for dessert, my neighbor actually made me brownies and brought some over. So of course I had a few brownies for dessert. That does bring us to the end of the video. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys got some meal ideas or inspiration. As always, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. We'd love to have you here each week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!